Alright, hey guys. First off, my name is Rich Stauffer. I'm a fitness instructor from CFB Edmonton. We are about to do a total body circuit class. A couple things you're going to need is your own bottle of water. I seem to have misplaced mine, but I'm sure I'll find it. You're also going to need maybe a little sweat towel or something like that. I'm using a weighted backpack or ruck for my workout. Anywhere from 20 to 50 pounds will be just fine, depending on your fitness level. As well as a pair of light dumbbells, or as always, a nice little substitute for that. If you haven't got some nice light dumbbells, the milk jugs work just fine. I'll probably throw those into a couple of my circuits just to prove that you can do some of these exercises with that. Or if the 15 start feeling a little heavy and I want to slack off a little bit, because they are about 10 pounds, those milk jugs. Okay, final thing is you're going to need to play your own music, because I don't want to be competing with any background noise or anything like that, so it's going to be up to you guys. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is just read our little brief here before we get started. So, in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness classes to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it's entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces personnel to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any difficulty or pain during the exercise presented in this video, it is recommended you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If a CAF member sustains an injury during this video, please remember to fill out ACF98. Alright, so that's my little brief here. Feel free to get your water bottle, your milk jugs, your heavy bag, all that stuff together, and we're going to kick it off real quick here. Alright, so what we're going to be doing today is, like I mentioned, it's a total body circuit. We're going to be using the heavy bag as well as a set of lighted dumbbells. I'm going to be kind of telling you guys some rep ranges to aim for. If after the first round, we're going to do a couple rounds of a couple different circuits. If after the first exercise or so, or after the first round or so, you're like, ooh, that was pretty easy, maybe because your dumbbells are really light or your heavy bag isn't that heavy, your fitness level's higher than mine, whatever the case may be, you might think, hey, you know what, I should, this is a little easy. Maybe just add a couple of reps on each round until it starts to feel like, okay, this is a little bit more reasonable. If I'm only doing 5s and you decide to jump up to 10s and you're unable to finish a round, don't push that back on me. Maybe you should have made a little smarter choice about your reps. But definitely, you can modify it, right? Because it's not going to be a perfect situation. We're not working necessarily with perfect equipment. It might be a little bit improvised in the case of my milk jugs over there or whatever. So just make sure that you modify as required, okay? What we're going to start with is a little bit of warm-up, then we're going to do a little bit of a circuit with the heavy bag, then a circuit with some dumbbells, and we're going to do some core stuff, then we're going to do a little bit of a finisher for the last 10 minutes or so before our cool down to kind of get the heart rate up a little bit. Not that the heart rate won't be up during the circuit training, but that the intention of that is to kind of work out as a little bit of a burnout activity, okay? So what we're going to begin with is a nice little slow ramp into things. We are going to do a little bit of a stretch warm-up, then we're going to do a little bit of a kind of a more generalized circuit warm-up, just to get the blood pumping a little bit without pushing things too much. The whole goal of the next couple minutes is simply to get the blood pumping, okay? And limber up a little bit. So we're going to start out, one leg lunges forward. I'm going to go with my right leg on this particular one here. So right leg forward, left leg back. You're going to squeeze the glute on the left leg, and you're going to look over that forward leg just like that, okay? Nice exhale there. Take the left hand up in the air. You're going to reach up towards the ceiling a little bit, just like that. Not only are you reaching with the shoulder, but you're going to tilt your body just a little bit. Nice stretch through here, maintaining that hip flexor stretch, but also getting into the lat. Bring the hands down just like this. You're going to hop the back leg towards the wall behind you, and you're going to sink between those two legs. And you take your hand up in the air, just like that. Try to stack those shoulders up on top of each other. Hand goes to the outside of the foot, toes come up, and you're going to shove back in a nice little hamstring stretch, just like that. Alright, same thing on the other side. Squeeze the glute, push hips forward. You're going to look over that forward leg. Hand goes up in the air. Exhale there. Both hands down, pop the back leg towards the wall behind you. Nice stretch for the front of your back leg, back of your front leg. up, just like that. Again, stacking the shoulders up on top of each other, hand goes around the outside of the foot, toes come up, shove back into that nice little hamstring stretch. All right, from here, we're gonna take both feet slightly wider and shoulder width apart, just like this. You're gonna reach down. I can keep my hands together for the first little bit, and I'm just gonna go side to side, kind of leaning into that stretch. A little bit of an adductor stretch in the groin there. As you reach from one side to the other, maybe you'll get a little bit of an ankle stretch there in the back of the lower leg. You're gonna take the hands to the outside of the feet, and look between your legs. Nice stretch for the back of the legs. Back into that squat. Now I'm using my elbows to push my knees apart. Move back up to that nice stretch for the back of the legs. Again, get that adductor stretch. One more time into the hamstrings. We're going to roll up out of that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is a standing YTW stretch. A little bit of shoulder activation, I'd say. Might be a little bit of a stretch for the front of the shoulders. Basically, lots of us are, on quarantine. They're on the couch, on the computer. We're just going to open up that chest a little bit, activate some of those muscles on the upper back that we may not have been using to their full potential whilst watching TV or, doing Netflix or Xbox or whatever you're doing, okay? So what we're gonna do is you're gonna start off standing straight up, you're gonna push your hips back, and you're gonna kind of drop the chest down. After you do that while you're in that position, you're gonna make a Y shape, a T shape, and a W shape, okay? And you're doing that, you're squeezing the muscles of your shoulder blades together without crunching your shoulders up too much. So keep your neck relatively long. You don't wanna have your neck disappear here, okay? So we're gonna do that just 3 times, pardon me, in each position. So feet are hip width apart, bend the knees, push the hips back. We're gonna Y, T, W. Just like that, 3 times. Feeling that nice squeeze each position. Good. Okay, next thing we are gonna do a plank with a shoulder tap, okay? So you can get down on the floor, just like this right here, okay? Nice plank position here. Widen your feet as much as you need to. And you're just going to alternate lifting one hand or the other up without your body shifting to the side. Let's go 5 times on each side. Good. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go right back to that world's greatest stretch. Okay, so that first stretch series we begin with. Right leg forward, left leg back. Squeeze the glute on that back leg. Go over that forward leg. We'll exhale in each position. Be a really good way to emphasize that stretch. Up to the outside of the foot, back into that hamstring stretch, keeping those toes up off the floor of that forward leg. Good. Same thing on the other side. Squeeze glute, push hips forward. Over that forward leg. Here comes up. Both hands down. And get into that nice stretch. Drop the elbow down if you have to feel a stretch. It's up in the air. The outside of the foot. Toes come up into that hamstring stretch. Continuing on with the hips a little bit, just like we started out. This time we're going to go straight into having my hands on my feet. Looking between the knees. Back into that squat stretch. Between the knees. While you're doing that squat stretch, it's good not to get too lazy about it. Try not to kind of round forward. Use those elbows. Squeeze those muscles of the upper back. Try to make sure the chest is out. And then obviously again into the hamstring stretch that I just missed. And roll up on that. Good. Okay. We're going to go back to that YTW. This time we're going to do it prone. So face down on the floor. As you're doing this prone, people are especially inclined to really arch their back to get their shoulders up. I want you to think about pulling back with the muscles in the back, the shoulder, upper back muscles, as opposed to making those arms go up wide. Arch in the back. Abs should be nice and tight. You're controlling what's going on in the core to prevent your body from moving the wrong along the lower back there. Okay. So of laying on my stomach. I'm going to squeeze my abs and glutes first, then I make that Y shape, T shape, W. Y, T, W. One more time. Good. All right, now we're going to do that plank with shoulder tap. Goes a little something like this. 3 reps on each side will be lots. Awesome. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to get into a little bit of a circuit here. This is just to warm up. I'm picking some very reasonable reps for myself. You might want to pick more or less based on your fitness level. So I'm going to be doing 3 push-ups, 3 sit-ups, 6 squats, and 3 lunges on each leg, okay? Super submaximal effort. We're only doing 2 rounds. This is just to kind of continue to get the blood pumping now with some very basic movements, working through, a little bit of strength, but a little bit of, the lunges are good for range of motion. We want to make sure we're in that squat pattern before we load it, all that good stuff, as well as, doing it not really fast, but with minimal rest times between everything, plus simply getting up and out of different positions, going from a push-up to a sit-up to a squat to the lunge and back again to those other 4 is a really good way to kind of get the blood pumping a little bit and make sure that when we do that stuff during the circuit at maximal effort, it's not a great big surprise for us, okay? So I'm going to do 3 push-ups first. You do however many you can from your knees, whatever you like. Get my 6 squats going. Loosen up them hips a little bit. Awesome. Push-ups again. Back into the sit-ups. 3 of those. Was that just 3? Probably. Step up lunges. One more each leg. All right, so for me, that certainly accomplished the goal of the warm-up, which was to get the body, or get the blood pumping a little bit, get a little bit of light layer of sweat on my face, accomplish that goal. So we are good there. All right, give you guys 2 minutes. We're gonna get into the first circuit. And just so you guys know, I think I mentioned this earlier, we are using the bag for the circuit. The sandbag, rock, weighted thing that you can kind of grab onto, whatever it is. That's what we're using. Even a medicine ball would be good in a pinch for the exercise we're doing. They could work okay. Obviously, if things a little longer, a little shaped more like a bag, that's fine, but use your imagination. It doesn't have to be anything superficial. I filled up a duffel bag, I've done this stuff before. Even with a bunch of clothes and a little bit of heavier items. Eventually, it's a big enough duffel bag, like one of those big mech ones. It's heavy enough. So another minute here for me to catch my breath. Then now we'll go into the explanation. All right, guys. So we are going to be doing the bag circuit that I have here. We're going to be doing 6 step back lunges on each side. Then we're doing 6 front squats on each side. And then we're going to be doing 6 bag to shoulder. That's 3 on each side. So 3 of those, I guess. We're going with the way I was doing lunges. And then we're going to take a 1-minute rest, okay? And the goal is to do these quickly while not sacrificing any form. So obviously you want to do your lunges quickly, but if you're wobbling all over the place, you're probably a little better to slow it down, make sure it gets done properly. Once again, I've got a 45-pound bag here. You might have something lighter or heavier. Feel free to scale up your reps or scale up or down reps-wise accordingly, okay? It's definitely a, it'll vary kind of for how much your work you're gonna be able to tolerate from person to person based on the implement, your fitness level, all this other factors. So don't feel the need to just do the amount of reps that I'm doing. Figure out what works for you and do it. I'm going to start out with sixes. If sixes are too easy, I'm going to up my reps the next round, but we're definitely going to start on the more conservative end of things. And if after a minute of rest I'm still being, still super out of breath, well, maybe 6 was a good number, or maybe I even need to scale the reps down. And feel free to do that for yourselves as well. Get my stopwatch going here. I'm not checking my Twitter or anything. I don't have Twitter. All right, guys, so we're going to kick it off, okay? I guess I can give you a quick little demo before we start things off. I've done these exercises, all of them before, but step back lunge is just like this right here. Squat, like that. Shoulder, pardon me, ground overhead with the, or the floor to shoulder, I guess is what I call it there. You're gonna pick up the sandbag, put it on your shoulder, and you switch to the other side, okay? The goal with this is to keep your back nice and flat and stand up nice and hard at the top. Kettlebell or the bag will probably make contact with your thighs right here, kind of helps to flip it up onto your shoulder, okay? So we're gonna give you a moment to set up for that, and we'll get started. All right, everybody ready to go? Okay, let's start with some lunges, 6 reps on each side. Halfway. Front squats. Whew. Short breather, right into those, bag floor to shoulder. Work, guys. It took me about a minute. We're going to take a breather for a minute, do the same thing over again. And based on my current fatigue level, how difficult that was, I'm probably going to stick it out with the 6 reps each round. Again, too easy for you, go a little harder. A couple more reps each round until you find that area, place where you're a little more fatigued. It's too difficult. Drop the reps. All right. 15 seconds. We're start that next round. This time with my lunge, I think I'm going to go all right leg, all left leg instead of alternating. Let's do it. Front squats. Those sandbags up. Once again, about a minute of work, we take a minute of rest. Whew. Whew. Already started. Once again, as I always say, feel free to take your bags and secure the extra straps you may have going on. I know I get quite annoyed by the loose straps on my bag coming around and wailing me in the back, or even worse yet, eyeball. So if you got to take a moment Secure your extra straps. Holy cow, I'm leaking pins here. All right, that might be a little better. Maybe I made it worse. Regardless, we're starting up right now. Switch sides. Remember to keep your back straight. Whew. Good job, guys. That was round 3. We got 2 more. About a minute of rest. Last 2 rounds, fatigue might be setting in a little bit. You want to make sure those lunges, chest stays relatively upright. A little bit of a drop forward is okay, but you shouldn't be rounding forward. If as you lunge, you come forward a little bit, that's okay, but if you're collapsing, that's not a good thing. Squats, just make sure you keep your chest relatively upright. Keep those heels down on the floor. So weight should be somewhere in the middle of the foot, not way up in the toes. And for the sandbag floor to overhead, make sure you keep that back nice and flat, just like that. It's time to lunge again. Get it. 3 on each side. All right, about a minute of work. Last round coming up. Good job, guys. 30 more seconds. After 1 more round, we're all done with the bag. It's still gonna be uncomfortable, but won't be quite as heavy. And that's something. I was trying to encourage nice deep breaths. As your heart rate starts to come down. Last 10 seconds. Thinking about those breaths. On our last round here. Let's do it. getting that sandbag on the shoulders, guys. Make sure you're not stepping under the straps and finish up. Just like that. Done with that heavy bag. Walk around a little bit, take a breather. Here's the next thing in a moment. Nice deep breaths. Feel the heart rate come down a little bit. When you're ready, put that heavier bag. Move it off to the side. Got a nice engineered hardwood floor here, so I'm going to not mess it up, so I'll put down a little mat. Don't need to use the mat for anything other than setting my dumbbells on. As soon as I'm not out of breath anymore, I'll tell you all about the next circuit. Again, I got some dumbbells here. Use my dumbbells for the first round. I'm going to make use of my milk jugs for the next round. Put those right there so they're easy access. Alright guys, so we're going to do a little bit of a dumbbell complex. We'll start with 5 reps. Again, just like the last one, dumbbells are heavy, maybe do less reps. Dumbbells a little lighter, or a little stronger, maybe a couple more reps, okay? So we're going to start out with a dumbbell deadlift. So I'm going to take the dumbbells in my hand. Big thing with the deadlift, abs on nice and tight, as we're trying to do any time where we're trying to effectively transmit power from the lower body to the upper body. So the dumbbells are in our hands. So we're going to make sure this force that's taking our body, bringing it through this range of motion, is being accurately and completely transferred through the core, so through the middle of the body, through the torso. So we want to make sure abs are nice and tight there. Okay, you're going to lean forward and come just like that. Okay, so dumbbell are going to get to about the knees, then you're going to bend the knees, straighten the knees, almost all the way, come back up and lock out here. So basically on the way down, what you're going to do is hips back, hips back, hips back. As soon as this weight gets past the knees, that's when the knees bend. You're going to lower to about mid-shin, push hips back up, and stand up. With these dumbbell deadlifts, unless you're very flexible, I'm not too worried about the dumbbells touching the floor. I find most people tend to screw up the range of motion if they try to tap the tips of the dumbbells to the floor. The main goal is to get the hips through a range of motion, okay, while keeping the back relatively locked in and relatively neutral. So instead of worrying about the dumbbell touching the floor, worry about that as your goal, making sure that you get low enough until you feel this hamstring stretch, bend the knees a little bit, get back into that hamstring stretch, use those hamstrings to pull yourself back up, and at the very top, lock out the knees, okay? So that's a dumbbell deadlift. We're going to do dumbbell clean. This is a little more of an advanced thing that we don't have a whole time to really get into the nuance of. And depending on the weight of your dumbbells, I only have 15s. I could surely get away with just curling the dumbbells up. That would be okay, okay? If you want to do the more dynamic clean, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the dumbbells around knee height. You're going to jump up like this, shrug the shoulders, push the hips through, end up on your tiptoes, catch them like this, okay? So with the dumbbells in my hand, it's going to look just like this right here. Feet are about hip width apart, lower down to here, just like that. I didn't even have to jump, because again, these things are pretty light. If I was worried about this, really what you can get away with here is a little bit of a cheat curl, or even a strict curl, if you're not so worried about your hips, and you're more worried about the gun show for, you know, sleeveless t-shirt weather, feel free to do that as well. Okay, next thing is going to be a press or a push press. So a strict press would be the dumbbells in this position here, press them overhead like this right here. A push press, all you're going to do, use the legs to push that weight up, okay? So you're just using a little bit of lower body assist. If again, your dumbbells are quite light and you're like, I'd rather concentrate just on my shoulders instead of this whole body thing, just do that strict press. When you're pressing, do your best to get that arm all the way up overhead, hand back without arching the back. Even though you're working on your shoulders, you're still keeping your abs on nice and tight as you push off with your legs, and your abs are staying nice and tight at the top. You're not letting that go, letting that rib cage flare out and getting a hyper extension of the low back, okay, or any of the back, okay? We want to make sure we're relatively neutral here, because our arms are the thing that's really finishing off that movement. We don't need to have any extra like body movement in there, okay? So So that's push press. Then we're gonna do a lunge. The lunge you can do from that same position as you loaded the push press, or just with the dumbbells down by your sides. We've been doing step back lunges so far in the workout, so we're gonna progress to a forward stepping lunge. Just like that. And you can alternate, as I'm gonna do, or you can do all right and all left. I don't care. Fill your boots with that one. Then we're gonna finish up. I like the lunge squat combo, should be pretty evident by now. Dumbbells up nice and high. You're gonna squat down. Just like that, okay? All right, so very similar to that first circuit and the last two movements, but the rest of it's a little bit new. So as soon as I wipe all this sweat seems to be pouring out of me off my face, we're gonna get into the first round here, okay? So you're gonna pick up your dumbbells, just like that right here, and we're gonna start. Deadlift to the knees, bend the knees, come back up, just like that. So push hips back as soon as the weights get to the knees. That's when we bend, just like that. Haven't really been counting very well. Let's go one more. Good. Then we're gonna hang clean. Awesome. Okay, and push press is strict. Press is strict. Push press a little bit. The legs in there. Okay, then we're gonna lunge. Alternating. Chest stays relatively vertical. We're gonna keep nice and tight between the shoulder blades. Keep those dumbbells from flapping all over the place. You should more or less stay underneath your shoulders, directly underneath your shoulders at all times. Squats are next. Whew, there we go. All right, so that was a circuit with my dumbbells. If you're improvising, movements are gonna be slightly different with the milk jugs, so I'll do this for you on the next one. And maybe everybody's had their opportunity to get a hold of some small dumbbells, but you know, I'll give myself a break and I'll use the milk jugs on the next one because they are a little bit lighter than the dumbbells I have. And we're just taking 1 minute rests. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but I meant to. All right, guys. Deadlifts are first. Okay, now time for the cleans. Make sure your lids are on nice and tight, something I apparently neglected. One more. Good. Push press. This one was a little tough to press with last time. Trying to figure out what I did. They're not very heavy. There we go. This is how I got this done. Now some lunges. Squats are next. Just gonna rack these right up here on my shoulders. All right, so there it is with the milk jugs. Most of the movements exactly the same there. A little awkward with the cleans because they're up in front of your body and you don't have all your fingers in there unless you have small hands. You got small hands, you're good to go. A little smaller than mine anyway. Push press was a little tricky, but once you kind of figure out the balance point, not so bad. We're gonna give the next one go in another 25 seconds. Quick little sip of water while I'm here. All right, guys. get some deadlifts going. Remember, as soon as you get to those knees, that's when they really bend, not before. A little bit of an unlock at the top. That's it. Okay, hang cleans. Whoops. So I balanced a little bit there. It's okay. I had 8 more reps to redeem myself. Front squats. We got time for one more round. All right. Another minute of rest. Again, say you finish up one of these rounds, you're like, I'm still feeling like maybe too recovered by 30 seconds in. Maybe instead of changing the reps, you knock a little bit of time off the rest time. Totally okay in this circuit. We don't have a specific like hit interval goal or a, we're not working on power. So to cut down the rest a little bit would be detrimental to the goal of the workout. Here, we're just trying to get a little bit of sweat on, move the full body through full ranges, challenge the, we're trying to get some core and peripheral fatigue going on here. So again, not a big deal if you modify the workout a little bit in that regard. Not the same as, say, the power hour workout or even HIIT, where staying to the prescribed work rest intervals would be a little bit more important, okay? All right, guys, let's keep that, let's start this last round here. Get those dumbbells up, and we're gonna do this dumbbell deadlift, pardon me. Five presses or push presses. Half weight. Front squats. Whew. And that's good for that. Give you a little breather. We're going to talk about some core work. Good job, guys. Quick little breather. All right, so with our core work, we're primarily going to be focusing on kind of some static holds with a little bit of movement in them. Even if an arm or leg is moving, the main goal for most of these exercises is still going to be to keep the spine in more or less, spine and hips in more or less the same position. A little bit of movement, probably unavoidable, but if your body position is completely changed from the beginning of the range of motion to the end of the range of motion, probably you're not doing that one correctly, okay? So I'm going to give you a little briefing on these exercises. All we're going to do is we're going to work for about 30 seconds, rest for about 30 seconds. So we're doing dead bugs, side plank with a knee drive, and a glute bridge, okay? And we're going to do 5 to 10 reps of those, or 10 reps total of each of those. And it's going to take us about 30 seconds, maybe a little bit longer. Then we're going to rest for the rest of the minute. We're going to switch exercises, okay? So the intensity here is going to drop a little tiny bit here. but what's going to be important is kind of paying attention to what's going on during the exercises, okay? So what I'm going to do, move this mat out of my way because I'm not soft like that, and we're going to do some dead bugs, okay? So what the dead bug's going to look like is you're going to end up, or you're going to start yourself off, you're going to cue this by squeezing your abs and pushing your lower back into the floor, kind of creating a couple of wrinkles up on your shirt if you were to kind of watch yourself there, okay? So here, my shirt kind of flattens out, maybe looks like I got a little bit of belly. As soon as I squeeze that, that starts to wrinkle up a little bit. Then, from here, I'm going to lift my legs up without letting my spine, the position of my spine change, still pressing my low back into the floor. Hands are going to go up like this. All I'm going to do is reach my heel towards the floor, reach my hand towards the floor. More advanced than this is to keep the legs a little straighter, but I'm going to encourage everybody to start with bent knees. Then if that's easy and you're able to keep this back position, like you notice I just stuck my leg out, my spinal position changed. That would be unacceptable form-wise for this particular exercise. I'd want to keep, again, that low back contact with the floor, okay? So no doing this, keep this down here, okay? So that's the first exercise. Second exercise is we are going to do a side plank. Oh boy, a little slippery in my forearm here. Let's see if I hurt myself. And all you're gonna do, bring the knee up, just like that. 5 reps per side. Goal is to not let the body shift, twist, move, basically at all. You wanna make sure that you are, again, even though that leg's moving, it should be fairly undetectable to kind of look at the rest of the body, that part of another part of your body is moving. Okay, from here, we are going to do a glute bridge. Looks just like that. Okay, and again, big thing with this one, I've done this one before, you want to make sure you push your hips up. This should be the point you're trying to get as high as possible. Now your tummy. If it looks like you have a tummy, ooh, I can feel that in my low back already. If you have back problems, you definitely will feel a little bit more than that. So just make sure you keep those abs locked in, keep those abs on nice and tight, and push the crease of your hip up as much as you can. Okay, so we are going to start that off right away. We're going to do it for 9 minutes. Each exercise gets its own minute. We rotate through 3 times. If you finish up a little early, you get more rest, but I recommend you kind of stretch out the reps a little bit to make sure you get as much bang for your buck out of these as possible. So we'll start up with the dead bugs in about 10 seconds. Okay, cue that nice and tight here. Feet are already up, get those shoulder blades up, and you're going to alternate. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. Whew, good. That gives us exactly 30 seconds to rest. Okay, if you really feel this in your abs, maybe sitting up like me and crunching your abs all up wouldn't be a good position to get into. If you feel that cramping, just lay down. Next exercise we're going to do is a side plank with a knee drive. We're going to do 5 reps on the right and 5 reps on the left. Have another 10 seconds and we're going to kick that off. Get myself in a position here. I'm going to lay down my mat because I'm pretty slippery on my wood floor. All right, guys, get up into that plank. Drive that leg out. You can do this one with a band, though I've elected not to. Good. Switch sides. Okay, and we're into some glute bridges next. If those take less than 30 seconds, slow down. Even the other exercises, they take less than 30, slow it down, pause more at the top, do what you gotta do, and make sure you're hitting these with as much quality as possible. Maybe even hold, again, for most of them at the top would be the hardest place I'd recommend to hold. Okay, so we're gonna go into the glute bridge. Again, crease of the hip, that's what you wanna be pushing up as high as you can. Let's go. Squeeze those glutes. As you get to the back end of the set, abs still stay on nice and tight. Make sure to breathe. Those abs should be on. You got one more. Good. All right, about 30 seconds to rest. Good job, guys. We're going to right back to the dead bugs. Again, the intensity's dropping a little bit for these sets. That's okay. Just doing a little bit of core work. I did promise we were going to do a little burnout set, conditioning set at the end. I totally blew right past that. Taking a little bit more rounds on the first couple exercises. So we're going to miss out on that, so we're going to finish up here with some core. And that's just fine. Never a bad thing at the end of a workout to slow down and make sure you have some really good quality of movement to finish things up. So again, we're going to reset this. Abs on nice and tight, knees above the hips. Lift those shoulder blades up. Once I get in this position, then I'm going to go. And I'm going to try to stress myself a little bit more. I'll straighten my knees a little bit without totally straightening my leg. My leg range of motion is not the thing I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about only going so far that I can stabilize. Keeping those wrinkles in my shirt around here. Whoops. All right. Good job, guys. Again, about 30 seconds work. Well, a little bit more than that. That's okay. We got 20 seconds, and we're getting into that side plank with the knee drive. 10 seconds. We're going to get set up here in that plank position. Push myself up and drive that knee up. And how did I do for a 30-second time limit? I felt like I was rushing there. Not bad. Took me about 30 seconds. If you happen to have that lighter dumbbell kicking around, or you want to put that milk jug up on your hips, you can do this glute bridge with a little bit of weight. Actually, you can do this with a lot of weight if you get real good at it. But we're just practicing the movement here. 15 pounds is what I got laying around, so that's what I'm going to do. Let's do it. Again, pushing the hip crease up. Make sure your whole spine moves. You're not just moving your low back. Again, if you're on a wood floor, you may find yourself sliding across the floor like I just did. So getting a mat wouldn't be a terrible idea. But I'm stubborn, my mat's all the way over there. So I'm going to tough it out for this last round here, okay? 3 more minutes of work, then we're going to cool down. Not a bad way to finish up the workout here. Go outside and enjoy the beautiful day. 20 seconds, we're going to finish up to our last set of dead bugs. Again, it's not, the exercise does get more difficult the further your hands and feet get from each other, but it's very important to note that we want to only go so far that we can control the spine and whether it moves or not. We don't want the spine to move too much during this, so you want to make sure you only go so far that you can control, okay? All right, guys, let's do it. Awesome. Okay. Side plank with the knee raises next. All right, guys. 5 seconds before we're going to do the next one. Other side. Good job, guys. Whew. One last exercise. 30 seconds, we're gonna get into this cool down here. Again, sorry we missed out on a little bit of conditioning work here, but we're running a little light on time, so apologies there. But I've been doing okay keeping my classes on track, so I'll cut myself some slack for this one, just this once. Okay, we're gonna finish up with the glute bridge. Maybe I'll shove my mat behind myself so I don't slide all over the place. We'll see if that works. All right, first things first, abs on nice and tight, pull that spine towards the floor, aiming at getting the crease in the hip as high as possible. Awesome. Well done, guys. Good. I don't know if we require a huge breather after that. Feel free to grab a drink of water. We're going to stretch it out and we're going to shut her down. Good work. All right, well done, guys. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna loosen up the shoulders a little bit. All I want you to do is just gonna come rotate the shoulders. I got my hands together. You can have them down or whatever you want to. You're gonna go backwards. Not moving through a painful range of motion, just kind of shrug them up a little bit. From here, you take both thumbs, push them back behind you. Pardon me, you're going to go thumbs up, then thumbs out, push them back behind you. Alright, next thing, both hands up in front of you. One up, one down. Alright, good. Okay, next thing, we're going to break into that world's greatest stretch. If, like me, you got a nice little puddle and you're sliding all over the place, make sure you wipe that out. This is mostly for me. I don't want to be, giving myself a concussion when you guys have to call me an ambulance, find out my address. So make sure your area is nice and dry and safe. We're going to go left leg back, right leg forward, squeeze through that back leg. Nice stretch for the front of that back leg. Go over that forward leg just like that. Hand goes up in the air. Both hands down, shove the back leg towards the wall behind you. Drop the elbow down if you need to feel a stretch. Exhale, look up at the ceiling. Back to the outside of the foot. Shove back into that nice little hamstring stretch. Same thing on the other side. Squeeze the right glute this time. Push hips forward. Go over that forward leg. Hand goes up to the ceiling. Both hands down to the instep of the foot. Drop that elbow down if you have to feel a stretch. Goes up onto the outside of the foot, a hamstring stretch. All right. Okay, from here we go slightly wider, shoulder width apart. We're going to drop down, same stretch we were doing before. Just going to rock ever so slightly, pushing that knee. Make sure it's pointing the same direction as your feet. Don't be collapsing in too much. That's what the elbows are for. Help push things out. We'll let you relax. Then we're going to get into that hamstring stretch. Holding it for a couple extra seconds here. Then we can go to the roll up out of that. From here, I'm going to grab my handy mat, slap that down on the floor, because I'm going to be in the same position I began with that world's greatest. But now we're going to emphasize the hip flexor a little bit. You're gonna squeeze that foot up. If you can't quite get the leg up like I have, you can feel free to put it up on something soft like a pillow or even your couch, whatever you like. Again, just so you guys can see what I'm doing there, maybe it wasn't totally evident. My foot's up, I'm squeezing the glute on this back leg, really opening up this hip. All right, same thing on the other side. Again, grab that foot. Whoops, lose your balance like I did. There we go, grab that foot. Make sure you're not too far in. That foot's more or less behind that hip. And again, that glute should be squeezed to really open up that hip. Exhale there, good. Okay, right on. Next thing we're gonna do is from an all fours position, tabletop just like this right here. You are going to arch your back, look up at the ceiling. Exhale, round your back, look down at the floor. Inhale up. Touch your chin to your chest, curling that tailbone underneath. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Here, you drop your butt down on your heels, hands up front like this. You're just going to gently alternate, stretching those lats out between each side. Not dropping too hard into the stretch, not into any pinches or anything like that. We're just going for a nice subtle stretch here. Shouldn't be anything too extreme. Once you've done that a couple of times, 3 or 4 times I should say, find one side, give yourself a little bit of a stretch to that side. Feel free to block that hand with the other hand if you want to, or just reach. Same thing on the other side. A couple more breaths there if you like. You're going to pop right back up to that tabletop position, just like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to alternate reaching from side to side. So I'm reaching away from you guys here. Tips of my fingers are flat on the ground, just like that right there. Nice little stretch for my low back. A little bit into my hips, but mostly I'm focusing on the back of my shoulder as I'm rotating through my spine. One more time on this side. All right. Okay, guys, so that is everything I have for you today. Sorry about that, just wiping the copious amount of sweats that are pouring out of me off my face. Once again, thank you for coming in and tuning in and working hard if you did. We appreciate that. Feel free to check the Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff for the class that's going on tomorrow with not myself, but it'll be somebody just as qualified and wonderful as me. So once again, thanks for coming out and working hard. I do appreciate it, and we will see you next time.